Hey, so I know I'm a little late with this one. Well, very late. There's a big difference between a few weeks late and 5 months late. This video was supposed to be a commemoration to the original SCP-173's image, which has since been removed from the wiki back in February of this year, and a celebration for the 10-year anniversary of SCP Containment Breach, one of my favorite horror games and probably the biggest reason anyone knows about the SCP Wiki in the first place. For those of you that are unaware, the original image for SCP-173 is not original content on the Wiki's part. It was originally an artwork by Izumi Kato. I apologize if I am butchering that name, I likely am. And the artwork was titled Untitled 2004. Now, Izumi Kato allowed the wiki page to use the image under the condition it was not for commercial use. This is partly why SCP Containment Breach is a free-to-play game. Recently, the wiki has taken interest in making all of its content on the website Creative Commons compliant. Thus, they have been taking down not original images and finding replacements, the most controversial being SCP-173. Because of how much of a staple and an iconic one at that it's been for the SCP community, and in horror in general. Plus, it is also the oldest. So to commemorate that, and to I guess say goodbye to that old design, and to celebrate 10 years of this beautiful game which has used the design, I'm going to break down how I made this 3D model of SCP-173. While this video is 5 months late from April 15th, which was the game's 10-year anniversary, I still decided to make it because a few months in the scope of a decade isn't very late, and it's better than nothing, right? To start, I used two programs which were essential to the process. Topaz Gigapixel AI, which was used to upscale the low-resolution image, and F-Spy, which was used to get a Blender project file that has the same orientation from the camera of the image. After that, I was able to 3D model the room by extruding shapes to match the image. I also extruded the window and created a different material for the window using emission so it lights up. I also added additional lights to match the scene. I then went back and added additional details such as this cardboard piece in the ceiling, the wires, the pipes, and also the fluorescent lights hanging from the ceiling. I then projected the image to the mesh, subdivided that mesh, and texture painted it so it looked better and not warped. And that was about it for the room. Not too important when compared to SCP-173 itself. For the 3D model of SCP-173, I will admit I started by importing the 3D model from Containment Breach for its basic shape. And actually, while we're on the subject of SCP Containment Breach's model for 173, let's discuss the model itself, because some of you might not actually know that I hate this model. Why? Well, for one, it's not very accurate to the wiki. I mean, come on, it resembles a peanut more than it resembles the wiki's 173. And the second reason is that it's very plain. I mean, take a look at this. This is the wiki's original photo, Untitled 2004. And here's Containment Breach's 173 positioned in the same setting. The model being plain becomes especially obvious when it's compared to my own model based off of the wiki. It doesn't have much detail going for it. And I can't blame the developers much. Some of the characters that have no reference, like 096, look phenomenal in the game. And this was because they had the power to make them appear however they wanted. They had full creative freedom. Meanwhile, SCP-173 is described to be made of rebar, concrete, and Krylon brand spray paint. In reality, the sculpture in the photo by Izumi Kato is actually made of carved wood and acrylic paint, which forced some caveats to the creation of the model. This is also why I modded it into the game, and it's awesome. Anyhow, I first shaped the model into the position and the pose of the image, making sure the proportions looked right. I also rotated the head so it's turned to the camera's view. I then decided to remesh the model using a program called Instant Meshes. Then I unwrapped the UVs of the model, and I also created a separate UV for the projection of the image, and another UV for the face, which I made myself in Photoshop. I also went back and added more details to the model, such as ears, and making the carvings in the face more pronounced. I then did some texture paint to make the projection UV into a texture for the unwrapped UV. Then I did the same thing for the face I made separately. I also used the clone brush and the smudge brush to work out artifacts caused by the projection, and make the whole model look good even from the back, which is not seen in the original photo. I then also made a separate texture of concrete for the unwrapped UV. I blurred the projection texture for color and added it over top of the concrete texture, which gave me this colored concrete that looks like the original photo. I then also added the face that I made earlier. I went back and fixed some more artifacts that were left, and touched up the model so it looks awesome. The last step, but also an important one, is I created a normal texture and a specular texture using an app called Crazy Bump. And that's the entire process to how I created this model. If you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like, comment, or even subscribing if you want to see me make more. This video is dedicated to Reader. If you don't know who Reader is, that's alright. But to Reader, thank you for coming back into my life as what I would consider to be my closest friend. Even if us talking again is for a brief moment, it was nice to catch up with you. Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Cheers.